Hello people of the internet, how's it going? My name is Ryan, and remember this? This is the 2009 iMac that I talked about in the last video. Remember when I said that I had added some RAM from a 2011 MacBook Pro? Well, I did. This is that MacBook Pro. That thing's heavy. Let's talk about it. Right, as I said, this is a 2011 MacBook Pro. This features a 15-inch display, which, while I turn it on, let's go over the specs here. It's running a 2.4 gigahertz Intel Core i7, probably one of the first few generations of the Core i7. It's got 8 gigabytes of 1333 DDR3 memory, two 4 gig DIMMs each, which was upgraded from the 4 gigabyte DIMMs that are now in ye old iMac. It did have, at one point, 2 active GPUs, which is no longer the case, because there's a special thing in these that tends to go wrong constantly. That's right. 2011 15-inch MacBook Pros and a bunch of other MacBook Pros that were in the higher range had crippling graphics card issues, and we're talking like actual computer-breaking graphics card issues. And the thing is, there's no real fix. There's no guaranteed way to get this computer to work again, officially. I reached out to Rossmann Repair Group, who does normally repairs on these kind of things, and they responded with the fact that they basically can't do anything about it anymore. They've had computers where the GPU has been replaced, resoldered. Let me get rid of that iCloud thing, blah blah blah. Go away. Yeah, yeah. So they've had graphics cards that they've replaced that just fail before the customer even comes to pick up their computer that's been repaired by them. So right before I did that email, right before I sent that email, I went to the internet, and lo and behold, once again with the clutch, DOSDude1, Internet Wizard Extraordinaire. That guy doesn't receive enough credit. He is amazing. He has everything. Developed a tool to disable the failing GPU. I had to install it. I had no choice. It was either I attempted the install while the screen was bugging out and the graphics card was slowly dying right in front of me, or I let the thing die and let go of my investment. We'll talk about how much I put into this computer in a bit. So why did I buy this thing? Well, I was under the assumption that it was a 2008. And then, when I looked up the serial, or the number on it, when I bought it, turned out that it was potentially a 2011. Now, I didn't get to check when I met at the public place for picking this thing up. This is another OfferUp find, so I talked to the owner, I guess it was. I don't know the exact story behind this computer. I don't know what it had been through prior, but they had told me that it worked and that it turned on, and it just didn't. I plugged the included charger into the wall at the restaurant that we had sat at to meet up for the computer, and no response. No light on the charger, no light for just anything. Tried to turn it on, it would not respond. So, the price being as low as it was, I accepted my fate and said, alright, I will trust your judgment. I will accept the fact that this probably works, but needs some love and care. Paid him the money, and I was on my way. Got home, realized that there was no hard drive, realized the battery was swollen, and it only had 4 gigabytes of RAM, which isn't terrible, I guess. It could be worse. So I slapped in an SSD, I slapped in a $70 battery, because that was what Amazon recommended for this model of MacBook Pro, and I slapped in 8 gigabytes of RAM to make this thing a beast chonkin' honkin' mother trucker. Now, one of the trade-offs I had to do was install max fan control, because the thermals on this thing are awful. The fans do not spin up nearly as much as they should. It's showing a fan speed of 2000-ish RPM, but full blast will get that jet engine going up. Ooh, we get about 6100 RPM, 6200 RPM. That keeps this thing consistently cool. It doesn't matter what I'm doing, doesn't matter how hard I'm running it, the fan speed at 6200 RPM always keeps it cool. Now, when I bought the thing and I had replaced the hard drive and the RAM and the battery, well, I didn't replace the RAM, I actually kept that for a while until I got the iMac, things were smooth. I had people on the internet telling me over and over, oh, the GPU's gonna die, the GPU's gonna die, ugh, the GPU, ugh. And I was just like, guys, come on. This is just becoming an echo chamber at this point, because I feel like I got a great deal on this computer, and you guys are just pooping all over me. 2.5 months later of owning it, it happened. The screen started to go all wonky. I wish I got video of it. It went like blue streaks everywhere, like green graphical bugs. It was just not having a good time. It was on its last leg. And I was really scared for it. So I installed DOS Dude's patcher tool to disable the GPU, and now we're just running on the stock graphics card, which we get back to the specs. This originally had, in system report here, an AMD Radeon HD 6770M, which Apple is known to be a failing graphics card. It's been grayed out because it is no longer active. Oh wait, oh, maybe that was just a weird graphical thing. Anyways, so it's technically PCIe on the graphics card, but it is soldered into the board. When these things fail, good luck. That's all I gotta say. You can technically throw a 2012's logic board with the upgraded graphics into a 2011 chassis, but at that point, it's not really a 2011 anymore, so whatever. However, we do have the second graphics card, which is the integrated on-chip graphics Intel HD 3000, which for most applications will be just fine. You don't need anything else. And I say that because this is only running macOS High Sierra. This is the last version of macOS that is supported under this computer, 10.13.6. I looked around and I was tempted to install the Mojave or Catalina patchers just to kind of give it new life in that form. But after looking into the obvious problems with graphics acceleration and, you know, how the AMD graphics card was going to handle with Catalina and Mojave basically being incompatible and utter dog poop and not working, like, at all, it was just going to be an unusable mess. At the time that I was looking into installing one of those patchers, the graphics card hadn't failed yet, so I had decided that it was best to just leave it on High Sierra, which I think is okay. It's still supported by many apps. GarageBand still gets updates. It still had an update, at least. We can use Safari to install Microsoft Edge because Safari is trash. Sorry, guys. Got a cough there for a minute. I'm allergic to garbage. Yeah, no, I'm not a fan of Safari. I would normally use like Chrome or something like that, but lately, Microsoft Edge has been killing it. And let me show you. This is the latest version of Microsoft Edge, still supported by macOS High Sierra. So we'll go YouTube. YouTube still works just fine on this computer. Haven't had any issues. Let's go to history here. We'll watch one of my old videos so we can get a sense of what the screen...
to another part of my stay because of financial...
Okay, that's enough of that. But the speakers on this thing are fantastic. They're actually wonderful. Let me actually see if iTunes has... Cancel. That's weird. I've never got the beach ball on iTunes before. Huh. Only when you're recording, right? Oh, boo. Get out of here. Oh my gosh, I don't care. I had to reset my iTunes, or my Apple ID password because I was working on a 2007 MacBook that is for a future video, and everything is freaking out at me, so I've got to handle that as soon as this video is over. Let's see. I don't have that. I don't have those files. Oh well. So the speakers work fantastic.
That the place I was originally living and growing up was way too expensive.
Anyways, the screen is a very bright. It's a very bright display. We're running at. I'm sorry, I did not prepare for this video like I don't normally. We're running 1440 by 900 display, which is pretty darn good. It looks nice. The pixel density is great. The brightness is great. However, with that AMD graphics card failure and the patch out that I had to run on it, I no longer have native brightness control for the screen, so I had to install a third-party app that kind of puts a like gray layer over parts of the screen, and you can tell it puts a gray layer because the mouse cursor is still as bright as ever. It works. It's fine. Whatever. The other problem is disabling that GPU doesn't allow sleep anymore. If this computer goes to sleep, it will not wake up. You have to basically hard reset the computer, soft reset, whatever, and you're basically good to go from there. But it runs decently well. The 8 gigabytes of RAM definitely does help it out. The battery is pretty fantastic. I'm at 67% charge right now. It says 101% health. I don't know that I exactly believe that. It was manufactured in 2020 when I bought it. Or, yeah, when I bought the battery. I've currently got 7,200 milliamp hours that's or 7,283, which is why it says 101% charge health. This battery lasts about 3 to 4 hours of continuous use, depending on what I'm doing. The SSD I'm running in here, I believe, is a SanDisk 512 gigabyte, just a standard SSD. I didn't need anything too special for it. What are my final thoughts? What did I pay for this? Well, the project overall was $200, give or take. I had paid $70 for the solid state drive, which is actually on this side. Yes, this side of the computer. $70 for the battery, and $50 for the actual computer itself. With the charger, with a computer that's in pretty decent shape. It's got some bad dents on the top that aren't, you know, the worst thing in the world. It has all of its ports. It's got the regular original MagSafe, Ethernet, Firewire 800, Thunderbolt, which was one of the first, I believe actually the first computer to include Thunderbolt in Apple's lineup of MacBook Pro, 2 USB Type-A 2.0 ports, an SD card slot, an audio in jack, and a headphone jack. Of course, over here we also have the battery indicator button, which gives us these lovely LEDs. The bottom is pretty scratched up. It's seen much better days. It's also missing screws. It's not great. The front has an IR sensor for the remote. Did not come with it. That came with a iPod AV connector kit that I had lying around. The magnet for the hinge is freaking fantastic. It still holds solid to this day. So for $200 total, it's a fun little project. I don't feel I wasted my money. I took a gamble because it did not turn on when I had originally taken a look at it with the seller. Probably not the best idea to gamble like that. I'm not really much of a gambling man. In fact, if I go to a casino, I'll maybe spend like $50 and then call it a night if I don't do anything. But for some reason, my gambling high comes from getting computers like this. I will take that chance and I will run with it. Because in this case, and in most cases where I buy something for stupid cheap, things usually end up working just fine. I don't know if it's just my luck or if I have some way of picking things that I don't understand, but things just tend to work out. So for an original cost of $50 plus about $150, almost $170 in parts, I would say this is a fantastic buy. If you can find something maybe a little newer for a similar price, go for it. Just jump on it. Unless it specifically says something about being dead. The only thing I was aware of was that the battery wasn't holding a charge and that the hard drive wasn't responding, which I ended up finding out it just wasn't there. So if you get a chance to buy something of maybe a little newer for a really good price like this, I'd say go for it. I took a gamble. I won. I got a decent laptop that still holds value. Now, you know how I said that all things considered it was about $200? Well, I went to Apple's website to check out the 13-inch 2020 MacBook Pro, which I'm considering buying because it looks fantastic. I need a new computer. It's about time that I just kind of dropped the money, or, well, my household just drops the money and gets me a new computer, because I don't get new computers very often. The only new computer I've really ever bought, actually I bought 3 in my lifetime for myself. I've bought an Asus laptop with a touchscreen, which I reviewed on another channel that is now locked, thanks Google. I've bought a Lenovo tower, which I bought brand new for $700, which is trying to kick it. You can hear down there it's kicking. And a Dell laptop, which that thing sucked. It's only good for Linux. It had Windows 10, only 32 gigabytes of storage on it, non-replaceable. We're not talking about that right now. So, with my string of buying, or getting into the Apple ecosystem and buying old computers, we figured it was time I got a new one, so I went to Apple's website. They then gave me the option for a trade-in. And since this computer is attached to my Apple ID, it's registered within Apple's whole trade-in program. This computer from Apple in 2011 is still worth $150 approximately within their system. I don't know whether that's because it was so top of the line for its time, because this is, as far as I can tell, one of the top spec models of MacBook Pro for the era. It originally had a 500 gigabyte hard drive, which was probably the best you could get at that point, besides maybe a terabyte. But that being said, $150 approximate still being valued by Apple, probably because of the failing graphics cards, but we won't talk about that. Wink, nudge, just forget about it, sweep it under the rug. It's still pretty fantastic. And no, I'm not trading this thing in. No. I like this thing too much. I've had too much time with it. I've done way too much to get it to where it is now, working functionally perfectly as far as I am concerned. I still think that's hilarious that Apple still holds about $150 worth of value in this computer in 2020. Now, obviously, I'd have to send it in, and they'd have to evaluate it, see if anything's been done to it, blah, blah, blah. But just think about that. It's crazy. Anyways, this has been the 2011 15-inch MacBook Pro. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If not, you can go ahead and give me a thumbs down. I'm not too concerned about that. If you would like to subscribe, please go ahead. If you'd like to leave a comment, please go ahead. I will try my best to respond in a timely manner because I feel that's important for this channel. And I guess that's about it. With that, I'll see you guys later. See you in the next video.